I'm a licensed CPA in the state of Washington, and I'm here to clear up some common misconceptions about the stimulus check. There's been a lot of talk about the stimulus checks lately, and specifically what you should do if you have not received any of your checks. I've been hearing a lot of information online through various chats and blogs that all you need to do is report that you did not get your stimulus checks on your tax return, and voila, you get the money. But is this really true? Remember that just because your tax return says that you are getting a refund, it does not mean that you will actually receive that refund. The IRS has many checks and balances in place before they send out those refunds. Stay tuned. In this video, I will cover the best way to make sure you get your missing stimulus money as fast as possible. First things first, let's briefly go over some of the main criteria of who was eligible to receive the stimulus check in the first place. With few exceptions, most adults were eligible to receive a stimulus check unless you were claimed as a dependent on someone else's tax return. The most common situation I still see is people ages 17 to 24 who did not receive any stimulus money because they were claimed usually on their parents' return. In this situation, I highly urge you to see your tax professional together with your parents or whoever was able to claim you, and they will be able to evaluate if you should file separately in 2020 to receive that stimulus money. As tempting as it is to just go file on your own, there are times when the parents lose out on a really large tax credit if they don't have you as a dependent. Out of respect to them, especially if you're still living with them and they are still supporting you, go together and at least get your options. So back to the topic of this video and getting that missed payment. If you were a dependent in 2019 and you have determined that you are not a dependent in 2020, all you need to do is file your tax return and let the IRS know that you did not get your payments. You will immediately see $1,800 added to your refund in what is called a Recovery Rebate Credit, which is just a fancy name for your stimulus money. Next, we get to the fun stuff. You were not a dependent in 2019 and you waited and waited and waited and maybe tried calling the IRS a few times and your stimulus money never came. This could be for a number of reasons. You changed your address, you closed your bank account, you didn't file tax returns in 2018 or 2019, or you threw away that debit card the IRS sent as the second payment because you thought it was spam. You know who you are. In this case, there are several steps you need to take in order to get the stimulus money as a refund on your tax return. First, and this is important, is check the status of your payment on the IRS Get My Payment website. If you see that payment was not issued on the website, then you're golden. Go ahead and file your 2020 tax return and claim the Recovery Rebate Credit to get your money. If, however, and this part is really important, the IRS website says that you did get a payment and you did not get a payment, you will have a problem if you simply claim that you did not get your payment on your tax return. Think about this from the standpoint of the IRS. Your records as the IRS show that you sent out a payment to Bob Jones, and then you get a tax return from Bob Jones saying that he didn't get the payment. Would you not, in that case, hold that refund until you figure out what really happened to Bob Jones? Or another situation where a clever taxpayer decides not to cash their stimulus check and then claim it on the tax return and then cash it after the tax return money comes in. You can imagine there will be many cases like these and a lot of different other scenarios. And while it's tempting to blame the IRS, they are really just trying to do their job the best they can by holding these refunds until they figure out what actually happened. But here is our problem. You do not want the IRS to hold your refund. It is an extremely slow-moving agency, and a refund that gets held up can frequently take a year or longer to be released just because they're so understaffed. So what do? Enter the payment trace. Thankfully, the IRS has put a procedure in place that allows taxpayers to request that the IRS review its records and see, in essence, that even though their system says a stimulus payment was made, that it was actually not received. The check was not cashed, the direct deposit was returned by the bank, or the prepaid debit card was not activated. This will take some digging on their part, and they will not do it automatically if a request for a payment trace is not initiated by you. In their FAQs, the IRS specifically says, and I quote, "If you do not request a trace on your payment, you may receive an error when claiming the Recovery Rebate Credit on your 2020 tax return. Since the payment was issued to you, you may not be eligible for any credit." Note, they say issued, they don't say that you've cashed it, right? This part is important, and I would like to emphasize here that this error they're talking about in the FAQs will not show up when you're filing your return. It will show up after you have filed it and it's gotten accepted and it's in that reviewal process by the IRS. When you file, it will appear that everything is going great and you got the credit. All right, at this point, you've determined that you need to do a payment trace. You can request this in one of two ways. There is a phone number that they have that you can call, or you can mail a completed Form 3911. The IRS has stated that you will receive a response 6 weeks after they receive your request, but that there may be delays due to limited staffing. But wait, there's more. The IRS has also put dates into place before which they will not review requests for a payment trace. They don't want people to jump the gun. Like everything else, these dates are important because if you send in your request earlier, then they will either throw it out or just put it on a shelf and just kind of leave it there, and you'll be behind everybody else that did it right. So if you we're supposed to get a direct deposit, you can request it 5 days since the direct deposit date listed on the website. And if your stimulus check was sent by mail, it's usually 4 weeks after the mailing date, or February 24th for the second payment. If it was sent by mail and there is a forwarding address, then you need to wait 6 weeks since the mailing date in order to request them to trace the payment. As you can see, this is not going to be a fast solution. It's not going to be instant, but I will say, based on my personal experience with held up refunds, is that the IRS does eventually figure it out. It may take them a while, but you will get your money. So it's really not a matter of if, but a matter of when. After you initiate the payment trace, the IRS has said that you should file your tax return and say that you did not get your payment. When they get your tax return and their records and your records don't match up, the idea is that they will see that you initiated the payment trace and take a deeper look at your account to see if in fact a payment was missed. I hope this video has proved helpful. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments down below.